Get ready to witness the most riveting horror adventure of our times with Frogman, a Screambox original, but it's also available on Amazon for a few bucks. It was written and directed by Anthony Cousins and written by John Carsko. They've done projects like Scare Package and others. Check out IMDb to see what else they've been up to. And it centers around a 32-year-old man named Dallas, played by Nathan Timoshuk, who is bound and determined to prove the existence of Frogman in a movie called Frogman. Surely you jest, movie. So, the reason that Dallas wants to prove this is, well, on a family vacation back in 1999, the year that another horror movie, The Blair Witch Project, came out, and we all bought into that. I mean, really. The internet was more in its infancy. It was a more innocent time, shall we say, and we wonder what happened to Josh! No, really, I remember actually being horrified by The Blair Witch Project, and upon rewatching it a few years ago, kind of wondered why. But then again, 1999, more innocent time, less internet, and you bought into more shit. Also, it led to a phenomenon, the found footage phenomenon, found footage phenomenon, where people could just grab a camera and get some friends together and make a movie. And a lot of found footage movies have come out since then. You had the Paranormal Activity movies, you had The Visit, that was as much found footage as it was M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong trying to resurrect his career. So, we have Frogman. Basically, while on this family trip, he takes a family camera, and while out on a country road, he sees a weird frog-like creature that's apparently about 4 feet tall. And then, yes, the legend of Frogman has grown in Loveland, or Stillwater, Minnesota. And actually, the location shoot sort of reminded me of old Aberdeen. For Washingtonians, you might love that or hate that. Aberdeen's kind of a weird city. That being said, enough about Washington State landmarks. This has to do with Stillwater, Minnesota, where this particular hamlet is the site of tourism and also some deep, dark secrets involving Frogman. So yes, we have Dallas, we have his friend Scotty, who doesn't know about one particular thing until a little bit later. That is such a deep cut. It was Matt Damon playing that character. I can't believe it. Benny Barrett plays Scotty, and then you also have Chelsea Grant, not to be confused with, any relation to Amy Grant, or maybe, I don't know, she could be her distant cousin. There are 3 friends, and we find out more about them as they go on their adventure to try and solve the mystery of Frogman. So yeah, there's your found footage lot right there. I will say, as far as found footage movies that have been introduced and trying to recapture the magic of the found footage movies of old, and I feel really old saying that because I was 18 years old when the Blair Witch Project came out. I was in my mid-20s when the first Paranormal Activity movie came out. And the bottom line is even though you've had some good, you've had some bad, you've had some in the middle, like Jimmy Eat World, I will say the Frogman presents a couple neat little things that do occur eventually. The biggest issue with found footage movies that I found, and this is from somebody that even likes some of them, is it takes a while for anything to really occur. You get little crumbs of things, just enough to string you along, especially even with the good ones. And eventually it kicks in the last 20 to 25 minutes where it just throws all the stuff there like they're like, we're saving the budget, and go, we're going to unleash. And that's kind of what Frogman does. And I don't mind independent projects that have a small budget that try to make the most of a neat little idea. And this does have a neat little idea. Has some neat body horror effects and has a couple things I wish they would have expanded on. I think there were points where we could have maybe advanced this a little bit quicker. We could have gotten to the horror a little bit faster. Because the more you deal with these characters, I'm not talking about the actors, but the characters, they're very unlikable. They are very unlikable, not worth rooting for. Dallas in particular is very one note. Scotty, his character arc sort of changes a little bit later on. They make monumentally dumb decisions. Again, found footage movies, you kind of expect that. And there's a little bit of lore that they build up. So it's not the worst I've seen, but it's not good. I hate to say that. It's not really that good. I'm not saying don't watch it. If you have a Screambox account or you have a few bucks, give it a shot. Maybe you'll feel differently. I'm seeing varied scores as far as the reviews. I do recommend checking at least sticking with it until the end, and then your mileage may vary. Because there are a few neat little things that it tries to build towards, but then it just chucks everything in at the end That's really all I have to say. I'm going to get into spoilers. So, that being said, spend a few bucks, get it on Screenbox if you want to, and see how you feel. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, yep, found footage, indie goodness, The Legend of Frogman. They find out it's more than the story. I do want to say this was recommended by Possessed by Horror on YouTube. She does really good content. I recently discovered her a couple months ago. She is a self-professed fan of found footage. Nothing wrong with that. Let's just, support fellow horror fans and fellow movie fans as we go on. So, famous last words in the beginning. No one is going to die today. Famous last words when it comes to a horror movie. We get loud yelling noises as the family continues to argue. And 1999 was a weird tech year. We have a camcorder still somewhere in this house from the mid-90s, and believe me, those batteries did not last very long. So, yeah, we see a midget frogman. We then see some silly YouTuber with silly graphics for something called Monster Soup, and a weird haircut, like he cut it with a bowl. And Dallas, now 32, is struggling. He's out of a relationship, living with his friend. He's kicked out of his friend's house. Gets his old camera from 1999. And also gets his friend Scotty, offers to pay him some money. Despite the fact it doesn't really work, I don't necessarily know how he got the money, but whatever, it's fine. They get Amy, who is going to be moving to LA to be an actress. And she agrees to go on with them because they threw a big, going away party. Sure, I'll go with you. We can be 3 friends making a movie like we used to. We see a little bit of the student films that they did, or the short films, and that's kind of where Dallas really just goes full bore. He wants to prove that this, Monster Soup guy was wrong, to make fun of him. And, yeah, I have to do this. I have to finish this. Exit from the rear, now. Good old 24 quotes out of context. So, I say let the frogging begin, because the more I heard these characters try to talk about themselves, I really didn't want to hear them. Really didn't want to. So, it turns out that Amy and Dallas had a little bit of a hookup. Scotty finds out about this under the guise of falling asleep in the back seat. And then Amy decides to come up with a character, being a Norma Jean Wynette cowgirl reporter. I did note this reminds me of old Aberdeen, some old towns on the coast. And apparently, some various locals say, well, he can, he can melt minds and he also fucks. Oh no, he can fuck, he can reproduce. So there's a strange bearded guy named Woody that pops up a little bit later. Also, there's a guy named George Hale that factors in a little bit later here. An old guy that knows about Frogman. They managed to catch Frogman in the woods, but it's actually Woody dressed in the Frogman outfit. And then there's an old lady named Gretel that owns a hotel they're staying in. Actually, kind of reminds me of a hotel I stayed in Ocean Shores. I'll stop talking about Washington State towns, I swear. And she basically tells them, you might want to leave while you still can. Various people mention that there are caves, that you can only spot Frogman at dusk. So they use the old camera, they use a new camera, they didn't bring enough batteries, so that things keep dropping in and out. Convenient. George Hale is talked to. He had a granddaughter. He's looking for his granddaughter. All this weird shit's going on. He hands him a map and basically tells him to get out. His character arc just goes wherever. But then they decide, we're going to set up camp, despite the fact that we shouldn't be doing this. And also, yes, we were just warned by a sheriff that we will be arrested if we don't. And then there's slime on the tree that Scotty touches. More on that here in a bit. There was a shop with a bunch of random, knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone. And one was a Frogman flute, where if you play it, you can summon Frogman. Also, Frogman has a wand. We're just throwing shit in at this point. So, yeah, Scotty is kind of having issues because he's a little bit freaked out. Amy's a little bit freaked out. She gets suddenly possessed very briefly because Frogman can get in your mind. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Frogman sort of gets Amy, sort of gets Scotty, at least tries to. And they manage to get footage on this camera. They get back to the car, they get back to the hotel, but Scotty, oh no, Scotty's getting scales and weird shit on him. And now his car is going to be towed. Ha! I'm sorry. I did it kind of like how they said Frogman parking at the park, all other cars will be towed. I can appreciate that pun. So, yeah, by the way, that cult I mentioned earlier, people that worship him, caves, yeah, there's a cult down there. And if I didn't mention the cult, believe me, they mentioned it in such passing that you might have forgotten about it. There's a cult down there. They're going to sacrifice people to Frogman, who actually is there. The Frogman effects, for what little bit they show, are actually kind of neat. And George then suddenly shows up and shoots people. Because he's bound and determined to save people, but then needs to go save his granddaughter, who apparently was in one of the frog eggs that's down there. And this stuff is just all being hurled at us very, very quickly. And yeah, then everybody basically is just totally goddamn fucked. Scotty totally goes off the goddamn rails on a crazy train because he is possessed and turning into a frog. George manages to get Dallas and Amy out. And, we have the proof. But then we see scrolling text where the authorities didn't believe the footage. Scotty is considered a missing person. Amy moved to LA and has not talked to Dallas in a year, but Dallas got the footage and managed to make his own Frogman movie. It's Frogmanception. And, yeah, there you go. Also, he had the wand and is going to summon Frogman to, I assume, kill everybody in the audience. Kill the Jimmy J guy that made fun of him on Monster Soup. I've seen worse. Don't get me wrong, but I'm sorry. It's not a 1 out of 10. It's not even a 2 or 3 out of 10. But it gets an F. I'm sorry. It's just, it waits too long to get to anything good, and there's not enough of a payoff. That being said, check it out. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Reckland. I'll see you soon.